Hello, everyone. Aloha, konnichiwa. Welcome to our first multi-countries leaders talk, proudly initiated by us, Fujitsu James Community Indonesia alumni, with me, Ade Tunggadewi, as host for today. So we are very excited to have you, all of you, here in this occasion. And I would like to greet my James family in Tokyo. Hello, konnichiwa, everyone in Tokyo. And also the Hawaii family in Honolulu, Hawaii. And of course, my fellow scholars from James family all around the world. Hope all of you stay healthy and also stay safe and always be happy. I mean, in this situation, we need to be very positive. And let us start this today's session in Leaders Talk. And we initiate this Leaders Talk as a form of our contribution to the world, to inspire leaders to be the next global leaders, promoting the scholarship program to Indonesian leaders, maintaining the positive image of Indonesia, maintain the good relationship among alumni, because we believe that leadership is not a label. Leadership is an attitude. And we started this because we believe that the wise leader should be nurtured to the next generation. Okay, today, without further ado, let's start this session. But before that, I would like to say hi to the Managing Director of Fujitsu Indonesia, Mr. Odi Susilo Handoko.
Hello, Mbak Ade.
Hello, Pak Odi. How are you?
It's good. Good afternoon, everyone.
I hope you are in a good health today.
Yes, it's already
Okay.
2.5 months work from home right now.
Yeah. Okay, Paudi, thank you for that you make your time for us to join the Leaders Talk. Okay, maybe Pak Audi, the screen is yours.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Odi Handoko, the Managing Director for Fujitsu Indonesia. Thank you, all of James alumni who have initiated this Leaders Talk event, especially to Mbak Ade, as a forum to share experience about the Fujitsu James, a global leader for innovation and knowledge. I would like to welcome everybody who joined in the webinar today. The development of business world over the time is growing. The business world needs a leader who has a breakthrough and vision to provide innovation in the era and increasingly developing technology. In the GLIC, we call right now GLIK program, James provide the opportunity for all participants to develop their leadership potential to become future leaders in business world. At the conventional leadership in the past, perhaps it can no longer be applied given to increasingly dynamic business environment. Since 1985, Fujitsu James began opening scholarship programs aimed at professionals in their fields to gain diverse experience such as leadership innovation and so on. In the 4 countries, so from Hawaii, Japan, Thailand, and Singapore. Initially, the program was called the East-West Leader Program. Yet it was transformed into the Global Leaders for Innovation and Knowledge. We call the GLIK right now, which aims to prepare leaders who have capabilities in the business field. Every year, Fujitsu Indonesia open the selection for the GLIK program. We always want to give the best Indonesian candidate to participate the program to represent our country at best. Learning from alumni sharing, I think it's the living proof quality of the program itself. The selection of this program is indeed not easy, but I believe that behind of difficulty in penetrating the selection of this program, there is a potential for potential participants to develop their leadership. Through this event, we encourage Indonesian leaders to participate on the program to be the next global leaders with a global standard. Now we have this Fujitsu James Community Indonesia alumni who arranged and coordinated by Mbak Ade. Thank you. If you want to seek their experiences during the program and for the alumni, Thank you for your pulling this off. Congratulations for the first session of Leaders Talk that brought us together and inspiring Indonesians to be the next global leaders. Keep on making positive changes. We, Fujitsu Indonesia, always support you. Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow, thank you so much, Paudi, for the support from Fujitsu Indonesia. We hope we can continue this session to the next session and upcoming to influence others.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mbak.
Thank you, Paudi. Okay, now let's move on to the first speaker of Leaders Talk today. He will start this session and he will talk about authentic leaders. As you know, I have this uh, story about the leadership. Well, before entering this program, I was kind of scared about the word leadership and afraid that in the future I'm not going to be a good leader. That's like I I believe like everybody maybe experienced the same thing with me. And when I started to join this program, Dr. Mo, or I call him Mo, introduced me to the understanding about the concept of authentic leaders. So now today we are lucky to have him here, and we are lucky to have his time here to talk about the authentic leaders. But before inviting him to join us, I will read his bio and maybe a little bit of introduction about Mo. Okay, Dr. Morales or Alberto Morales served as the chief at the Center for Excellence in Disaster Management and Humanitarian Assistance, focused on the disaster management capacity building for 36 partner nations in the Indo-Asia Pacific region. He facilitates Information Communication Technologies Working Group, a subsidiary of the Civilian Military Humanitarian Response workshop hosted by Brown University, Harvard University, the U.S. Naval War College, and UNOCHA. Serving 24 years in the United States Armed Forces with the operational deployments in Central America, Northeast Asia, Middle East, Eastern Europe, and the former Soviet Union. He holds a Doctor of Education in Organizational Change and Educational Leadership from the University of Southern California, and also an adjunct faculty at Wayland Baptist University School of Education and Business, and also at Japan America Institute of Management of Science, where he became my lecturer during my scholarship at Global Leaders for Innovation and Knowledge back in 2017. Okay, let's have him here. Aloha, Mo.
Aloha, can everybody hear me?
Yes, of course.
All right,
Okay,
so
Mo, how are you? How was Hawaii?
Hawaii is doing good. It's quiet compared to the rest of the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to stay safe and one step ahead of COVID like everybody else, but everything is good to go, and I am so honored and privileged to be here. Thank you so much, Ade, for inviting me.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my colleagues that I haven't seen in a while. So this is great. So I know this has some time constraints. So I'm just going to jump right in so that way we can have more time for question and discussion and everything else. So if I can get Danielle, please, to put my slides up and we could just start it off.
Okay, okay. Let's start.
Okay, so like I said, thank you very much. I would like to extend my most gracious aloha to my fellow panel members and distinguished guests, and more importantly, our Zoom colleagues from throughout the world. And as I begin, when Ade told you I am a adjunct faculty at James on the leadership module, um, I want to start with a caveat. And I want to express that authentic leaders or authentic leadership can be taught in a whole semester. Okay, we can have a degree program at any university in the GLIC. So my intention for the period that I have here is to chat and to trigger something that all leaders should be doing. And I'm going to start with the next slide, please, Daniel. With two of my favorite people. So right now, I cannot teach in Socrates. I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think. And Albert Einstein said, education is not about learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. And that's what I want to try to get out of this time that I have set up here, because I'm going to try to set the foundation for my fellow panel members that are coming up after me on knowledge, leadership, and obviously the CEO of AirAsia here in Indonesia. So what we're looking at is, next slide, please, Daniel. Is about leadership. And it continues to surprise me and many people that some people or some bosses are they're one way at work and then one way outside of work. I remember when we were interviewing at my position in Honolulu for some of my colleagues, we had this resume. We look at the resume. It is fantastic. It's perfect. It's professional. But we also look at their Facebooks. And all of a sudden we look at, oh, there's a different side to this individual. Which one is the real side? Is this a facade or is this side a facade? So we're looking at that. And given the magnitude of the shock and the challenges that we are facing today in the crisis, leaders must consider the full breadth of all of the employee needs. And these needs are looked at as people, not as employees anymore. Not as actual like resources, but people. So I had one boss that told me one time that leadership is acting, and it's not acting. It surprises them when the leaders seem shocked or confused when their employees don't trust them, they don't like them, or they can't wait to work somewhere else. So that brings us to the old adage that says, you never quit a job, you always quit a boss. Okay, so that is one of the things we're looking at. And one of the things that I have done through my studies in leadership and with 24 years in the military that Adahez was talking about, is that I always found out that the leaders always have two problems. And I think they hold themselves too closely to these two little sayings I'm going to say. And one of them is they think they have to know everything. And the second one is they think that their problems are unique. And they're not. And the leadership has to look at it in some other aspects. So the next slide, Daniel, please. So we look at it in, I don't think this ever happens, right? Congratulations, it's a leader. Okay, next slide, Daniel. And here I have some DNA bases from science, and I don't see leadership in any one of these things. So I don't think we're born as leaders. Leadership is not something that's innate. Okay, it's something that could be learned. All right, if you understand that you do not need to know everything and that every problem is not unique just to you, you'd be surprised how many people have the same problems. And one of the things that we have to remember in the leadership is that you can only be a leader if you have followers. Okay, and those followers are critical, and those followers are like children. And like they used to tell us in psychology and child psychology, there's going to be a point in which your children are going to stop doing what you tell them to do, and they're going to start doing what they see you doing. And the same thing is with the leader. After a while, your nonverbal communication becomes very powerful, and you have to be very careful. Again, I just wanted to state this, that you don't see anything leadership in these DNA strands, in this double helix. All right, so next slide, Daniel. Okay, so I did this little map, and I want you to look at that leadership is a journey. Okay, it's not a straight line, as you can actually tell here, right? It is learned, it is adjusted. And the toolbox of your skills, what I used to emphasize in the GLIC, is that it's created and forged by your experiences, but more importantly, by your failures and your mistakes, right? And you have to look at things introspectively. One of the things that I used to tell them is do not adhere or do not make yourself labeled or pigeonhole yourself into saying that I am a situational leader, I'm a transformational leader, I am this type of leader. In a study that was conducted in 2015, out of the 4 major leadership styles that they look at is like supporting, coaching, delegating, directing, only 1% of the leaders that were surveyed had the ability to flex between all 4. Now we have a diverse workforce, and now, and as we see here, when I work with the United Nations, the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, I work a lot with ASEAN. We look at that, they have a lot of diversity, and you have to deal with people in different ways and different styles. So next slide, please, Daniel. So the questions that I was looking at this particular moment is, do real leaders emerge in the midst of crisis? Does a crisis have to be the trigger for a good leader or a real leader to come out? And if you are a leader, where do leaders find leadership in times of crisis? Okay, and that's where we come in with the next slide, please, Daniel. Okay, how leaders can prepare for crisis. Now, history is very clear that nations with allies thrive, those without wither. It's the nature of competition on the battlefield, in the playing field, or in the marketplace. The team determines if you win or you lose. That was James Mattis, General Mattis from the United States. And that was something that we looked at, is that it's teamwork. Remember, you cannot be a leader without any followers. Next slide, please. All right, so Sam Cawthorn said that crisis moments create opportunities. Problems and crises ignite our greatest creativity and leadership, as it forces us to focus on things outside of the norm. So the topic, and I just gave you a little caveat of some things with leadership, is I'm talking about authentic leadership. It was something that a lot of the students that I've had with the GLIC has always kind of looked at and said, hey, this is something that I never thought as before. Remember, my job here is to make you think, okay? Is that the only thing? I want you to leave and say, oh my gosh, how can I rearrange this, or how can I do something a little different?
Okay.
Danielle, I'm sorry, can you hit the next slide? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about this authenticity of what we're looking at. Now, a friend of mine at the United Nations in the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, he stated to me one time that the first time that we should not be meeting or exchanging business cards on the first day of the disaster, right? These relationships have to be nurtured, and these relationships have to be established, and these friendships established before the crisis even starts. Because when a crisis starts and there is no relationship between 2 individuals, 2 organizations, or 2 governments, or even 2 branches within your organization, things are going to become more chaotic, right? When we look at, there was a book that I provided the students on a guy named Peter Lencioni, and he says that there is 5 dysfunctions of a team. And what is the main thing? And he establishes that trust is the #1 key element of the foundation of any type of relationship. It has to be trust. And leaders in this type of society and in crises have to have the trust established way before anything happens at all. Next slide, please, Daniel. Now, the father of authentic leadership is a guy called Bill George, and I'm not going to read this slide per se, but if you notice, there are words that are bolded in red that are things that every leader should look and strive for. Every leader should be looking at these capacities and saying, am I really this kind of person? Am I fulfilling these kind of things? Okay, next slide, please. So here is sort of a cartoon of, I call it the anatomy of an authentic leader. Think positively, speaks kindly, practices good listening, balances the head with the heart, believes in community. these are things that people sometimes take for granted, and a lot of the critics will say this makes you soft. But I disagree, and I think a lot of the people in the GLIC program disagree as well. So how do we get these things? How do we make ourselves better? How do we make ourselves this type of leader? Next slide, please. You know, we're looking at some of the qualities that we're looking at. These are 5 that they're looking at. Understand the purpose. Lead with the heart. Demonstrate self-discipline. Practice solid values. Establish connected relationships. I'm telling you, I work with 36 nations in this area of responsibility. And we have to look at these relationships every single time, not just because of business, but just reaching out to individual friends and all over the world and say, how are you doing? How are things going? To look at that, this is really genuine. Next slide, please. And as the basic authentic leadership models, we're looking at 4 aspects: self-awareness, internalized moral perspective, balanced processing, rational transparency. You can read some of the things that we're looking at and notice that one of the key things of authentic leadership is introspection. How do we better ourselves? How do we make people believe in each other? How do, importantly, is how do you know to be authentic throughout and within all types of organizations, right? Self-awareness, as I said before with Lencioni as trust, is the bottom foundation. You have to be true to thyself in order, if you don't believe in yourself, then nobody else would believe in you, okay? And you have to be looking at that perspective. Next slide, please. All right, so the power of this authentic leadership drives organizational performance. You'll see those 4 that we just looked at and how organizations can implement programs to enable managers to become more authentic, because research has demonstrated that these results in a competitive organizational advantage. Next slide. So this is a slide that I said is kind of an algorithm. I'm in the military, so we love algorithms and things that you're looking at. How do you can make yourself better? Okay, great leaders seem to know which personality traits they should reveal to whom and to when. They are like chameleons, capable of adapting to the demands of the situations they face and the people they lead, yet they do not lose their identities in the process. So what they're doing is they loosen the reins of leadership without losing control. In times of crises, people look for dependability. They look for relationships. They look for consistency in delivery. We see some of the global leaders right now, and you see a dichotomy of how leaders around the world differ. How are some negative? How are some positive? When you truly trust a person without any doubt, you get 1 or 2 results. One of them, you have a person and a friend for life, or you learn a lesson for life. So what I'm asking is, everybody here is a business person. Everybody here has some kind of knowledge in trying to sustainability, profitability. Nobody would ever do a business venture without doing a SWOT analysis, without doing a Porter or a gap analysis. So as authentic leaders, we have to look in the mirror and look at ourselves and say, let me do that to me. Am I the best person or am I not the best person? So it's only through that, in my opinion, that when you have this authentic leadership, when you have the trust of your followers, then things that CP is going to talk about become easier, because the foundation of trust and leadership and dependability and credibility has already been established when there is no crisis. And when crisis happens, they know that you are a steady rock of dependability, honesty, and ethics, and you're going to see them through. So with that said, I think, Ade, I have reached my 15 minutes. So with that said, I am going to stop right there as the foundation of the rest of the talk, I think, and saying that we have to have trust, self-awareness, dependability, credibility, and ethics before anything else can work in times of crisis. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mo, for the session. It's a wonderful presentation, and also very easy to understand. And just now there is several words that intrigue me. That leadership is a journey, and Mo just talk about the authentic leaders, but how it's going to be when it's in crisis. I mean, like right now, it's the pandemic. So the next speaker is Constancio Paranal Tree. He will talk about knowledge leadership in crisis. So, but before that, let me give an introduction about CPs. Okay, Constancio Paranal Tree, or I call him CP, currently serves as Pacific Asian Center for Entrepreneurship Faculty Fellow at the University of Hawaii, Sidler College of Business. He also serves as the college advisor for the Business Executive, Society of Tomorrow, and the Manoa Consulting Group. In addition, he also serves as the University of Hawaii Office of the General Counsel as legal extern. He also served as board of director for the Filipino Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii. And now he is actively involved in the technology and entrepreneurial ecosystem in Hawaii. He holds a PhD in Information Sciences and JD in International and Technology Law at the University of Hawaii. And he completed his graduate work in finance from Harvard University and graduate training in system analysis and architectural engineering from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. His interests lie in the intersection of education, entrepreneurship, and technology. Aloha, CP, are you there?
I am here. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Ade. I'm humbled by those kind words.
Okay, CP, we are thrilled to have you here. Are you ready?
Yes, of course, of course. First of all, I wanted to thank everyone and say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be. It's such an honor to be a part of this conversation. It is a conversation that I believe is very timely. It's a relevant conversation and truly a conversation that we need to have. And so I truly applaud and admire the James alumni from Indonesia for spearheading this project and truly living to the objective and the standard of what a global leader is. And so I'm really, really proud of you and the rest of the team. The focus of my session for today, and I thought Mo presented a really good foundation, is really looking at knowledge leadership in times of crisis and examining the criticality and the importance of understanding knowledge, being a knowledge leader for an organization, especially in times of unprecedented times, essentially, just like what we're experiencing right now. And I also would like to talk about different ways, perhaps, by which we can exercise or exemplify knowledge leadership in our organization, not just in times of crisis, but throughout our day-to-day lives, if you will. And of course, being from Hawaii, I also would like to share how knowledge leadership is exemplified and relates to our unique Hawaiian values, traditions, and of course, Hawaiian principles. And so that would be the flow of the focus of my presentation. I encourage everyone to, if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer any of them. So Danny, if you have the slide, please. Thank you. So what really brought us today is more than our love for knowledge and more than our love for training and our love for Ade. What brought all of us here today is that common experience that we are all kind of having to deal with, the pandemic and the crisis. It is a crisis that does not only impact one country, a region, but it impacts all of us, the entire world. And I think we're at a point where we're trying to understand what is that new normal, what is that new world, and how we're going to evolve. I read this article about 2 days ago, and it allowed me to really understand the impact of this crisis. Just imagining, and if we can all just reflect, that it would take a decade for the US economy to recover from this pandemic. All of a sudden, I was just made to reflect on, what that 10 years for me is going to look like. I even tried to imagine how old I'm going to be 10 years from now, and that made me so anxious. But kidding aside, just the severity and the impact of this pandemic just really made us aware that this truly gives us, in times of crisis, it makes us feel uncertain, hopeless, and sometimes, not in control of our lives. And this is where I believe we try to seek for answers. And immediately I thought of, I want to do something. I want to, make things happen, and I want to enact change and provide some guidance or leadership, to my organization or to my students. But in order for me to be able to do those things, to deliver change, guidance, provide a solution, or make things happen, there's one thing that I need, and I need knowledge. If you could change to the next slide, please. And knowledge is really what allows us to provide those solutions and answers to our questions. And this is what a lot of countries have done currently in organizations. This is just an example of how knowledge is being created and called in order to support countries, individuals, and organizations to deal with this pandemic. Because what's interesting about this pandemic, unlike other pandemics that we have experienced in the past, is that we don't even know how to deal with it. We don't have the answer. We don't have the vaccine, right? And we don't even know up to what time this will end. And so if there is one thing that I can point you to in this slide, is that it has to be a trusted source. And in this day and age of technology, with information being readily accessible in the internet, we really need to start vetting and authenticating the knowledge and the information that we are seeking and we are reading. And this leads me to understand, the next slide, that the creation of knowledge really stems from understanding and observing the world around us. It stems from data, which essentially operates and help us operate in this world. By processing that data, we come with information and eventually creating knowledge. But value creation, or the creation of knowledge, is not the end point. When we create knowledge just for the mere fact of creating knowledge, it doesn't serve any purpose. It doesn't serve any meaning. And so we need to utilize that knowledge. And utilizing that knowledge provides insight. It provides meaning. But at the same time, we also need to understand, how do we utilize that knowledge? Are we using it for a specific purpose, to seek the truth and to promote truth? And that is giving knowledge a sense of purpose. And as knowledge leaders, those are some of the things that I believe we should embody. It's not just the mere creation of knowledge, but if we are using it for the right purpose, for a greater purpose and for a greater good of a greater community. And so through my years of professional consulting and also academic research, there were 5 things that I thought exemplify and provide a good manifestation of knowledge leadership in our organizations, whether it's leading organizations or being a part of the organization. And the first part is evidence-based information. Knowledge should be grounded in truth and nothing else, just like what Mo had mentioned. And as leaders, we need to ensure that we only share data and information that are supported by facts and evidence. We're all quite familiar with fake news. And so it is very important and critical for us that we become more vigilant in vetting and evaluating the sources of information for factuality as well as credibility. And that will allow us to serve and provide knowledge with a greater purpose. The second is experience and history. As again, as Mo had mentioned, history has taught us a lot of things. And pandemics, in this case, have been around for centuries. And history offers us opportunities to gain insight on how to address the future. But not all pandemics are the same, right? But if we refer to back in 1918 with the Spanish influenza, it was very apparent that while that virus spread because of US soldiers traveling to the East Coast and onto the European battlefields, unlike what it is now, where it is because of massive globalization, we understand that in order to fight the spread of virus, we need to practice social distancing. We need to quarantine. We need to urge people to wear masks. So this is not something new. This is something that we learned in the past. And I think for knowledge leaders, we need to look at what history has provided us and use that in order to address the issues of the current environment. But what's also important is having a good understanding of recognizing the complexity as well as how unique the environment and the issue is, and allowing us to create and customize a solution that merits that new environment. The third one is acting in good faith and without prejudice. And if you have been reading the news, America has been dealing with not just one crisis, but we're also dealing with social unrest and civil unrest currently. And ultimately, crisis brings about the best and the worst in people. And we've seen this in so many instances. When I was working as an investment banker in New York and Wall Street, I have experienced that the crisis of using information asymmetry and discriminating against people who are, and giving them this hope that they too can build their American dream, while also understanding that they will not have the means to be able to pay for the mortgage that they had loaned, right? Recently, when I went to LA, and this was before the pandemic truly broke out, I was riding an Uber, and the Uber driver told me that it has gotten to the point where when they see that someone is, where they're picking up a passenger at the airport and they see that the last name is Chinese, they don't respond to it, they drop the call. And that's how this crisis has discriminated against people belonging to a specific race or ethnicity because of fear and because of misinformation. And so to overcome prejudice, it is really important to always reflect on our actions and our thoughts, and to fervently seek meaning behind our intentions. And this will allow us to again use knowledge for the greater good. The fourth one is being agile decision makers. And times of uncertainty require constant monitoring and quick thinking. And we should possess that ability to pivot the course of action based on new information, as well as the ability to lead our organization to support decisions that are necessary. Right? As we've seen with COVID-19, there are a lot of information coming out almost every day. In fact, here in Hawaii, it's really hard to follow as to what is the new directive and the new mandate by the government. And you're trying to continuously update your. Sorry, I think that I lost the session. Are we back?
Yes, yes.
Sorry, Adi, are we back? Okay, sorry about that. So again, being agile decision makers, and so as knowledge leaders, essentially, we need to constantly seek new information, seek new tools, approaches, and even solutions to just a myriad of conditions and situations, and we need to be flexible because especially for this crisis that we are facing right now, we are always having to deal with a new territory like what Mo had mentioned. So we need to be flexible and always trying to be creative in delivering new decisions that would match the current context of our environment. And finally, it's really important to promote a knowledge sharing culture and allowing the members of our organization, our people, to be able to understand the importance of promoting these conversations and being able to deliver decisions that will support not only our organization, but the community that we serve. And so this leads us to how does this tie to our Hawaiian values and our Hawaiian principles? The next slide shows us that aloha is really an overarching principle. It is like most Hawaiian words, it has a lot of meanings. It can be a noun, it could be a verb, but more importantly, it is a spirit. It's innate in the person. And so this is how knowledge leadership is kind of exemplified in the Hawaiian principles. First is akahai. Akahai means kindness. If we just learn to be kind to one another, there is no reason for prejudice, and we can make decisions that is free from being prejudiced. Lokahi means unity. And in Hawaii, we really want to express harmony and practice it. And we believe that we are stronger when we are united. And that is how we promote leadership as well in times of crisis. The third Hawaiian principle that I want to highlight is olu olu, meaning agreeable or being pleasant. And in times of crisis, there's always an opportunity, or there's always a tendency for us to disagree, but we can always disagree while being agreeable as well. The next one is ha'a, which means humility. And this is being modest, just like what Mo had mentioned. In times of leadership, we don't know all the answers, and we need to seek guidance from people who know those answers, and being open to their suggestions will allow us to persist in this unprecedented times. And finally, ahonui, which means patient. And it's tough to be quarantined for 2.5 months, but there is a reason for it. And here in Hawaii, that's what we try to practice, is to be patient and to persevere in this unprecedented time. So if there is one last thing that I would like to offer everyone, the next slide just basically tells us that our actions and our decisions are truly manifestations of what we know, what we believe in, and what we stand by. And I also wanted to say that to exercise knowledge leadership is truly to ensure that our decisions are reflective of our values and are for the interests of the greater good and of the greater community. So thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity, and I truly appreciate the ability to share this knowledge with all of you.
All right. Thank you so much, CP-san, for the wonderful and very informative presentation about knowledge leadership in crisis. I really take note, and there is five things that we need to understand. And I really love the way you injected into the Hawaii culture, like aloha. It's like for us easier for us to understand. Okay, for guys, for you, if you have any questions, please comments in the Facebook, in our Facebook or our Instagram. Please shoot your questions. Begin with the country and then dash your questions, and our Indonesia alumni team will capture all of the questions, and we will discuss the Q&A session at the end of the session. Now we are going to do the third session. This session, CP already talking about the knowledge leadership in crisis, right? We already heard. And then now the next session is that I will invite this very inspiring lady. So I'm so proud to have her here today in our session. And especially this because she's part of the Indonesia alumni family as well. And currently she is the chief executive officer of Indonesia Air Asia. And as we all know, the airline industry is one of the most impacted industry during this pandemic. And so as a market leader in the low-cost carrier airline, how's the leadership take role in this condition after this COVID-19? I mean, like the way people traveling after this is going to be different, and we call it new normal. And in this session, she will talk about the perspective as a leader in the airline industry. But before that, I will introduce her first. And I think I'm going to read her bio, a very nice one. Okay, before joining AirAsia, Mbak Vera, or her full name is Vera Nita Yosefin Sinaga, spending more than 18 years in the fast-moving consumer goods sales industry. Prior to AirAsia, Veronita serves as sales director at Kraft Heinz Indonesia, where she led the company growth and market penetration in top categories and spent a number of years with Danone Waters Indonesia and British American Tobacco Indonesia. Veronita joined AirAsia as the Deputy CEO of AirAsia Indonesia in July 2019 last year. And just in 4 months, November 2019, she got promoted as AirAsia Indonesia CEO, where she responsible delivering company's mission to keep flying affordable in Asia's largest market. Closing 2019 with exceptional growth in both domestic and international segment, the company also marked superior performance in operations and customer satisfaction. Working alongside the government and industry stakeholder in Indonesia, she also plays an integral role in leading the local transformation efforts in Indonesia as the company expands beyond air transport to over travel and lifestyle services as well as financial services. She holds an MBA degree from INSEAD and a Bachelor of Industrial Engineering from Bandung Institute of Technology in Indonesia. She is also a diversity and inclusion leader, which made her recognized by UN Women as and scored her He4She Award for her work to create a gender equal world in 2016. Wow, now what a bio, yeah, right? Hello, Mbak Vera. Let's call her. Hello, Mbak
Halo
Vera.
Ade.
Thank you, Mbak Vera. I know you are very busy, but I really appreciate that you make your time for us to talk about in this segment,
My
and
pleasure.
this is our first session. And okay, let's go straight with your session. The screen is yours, Mbak Vera.
Thank you so much, Mbade. It's a privilege for me as well to be part of this conversation today. Hello to all the distinguished speakers and also alumni community in this room, as well as on live on Facebook and Instagram. It's amazing to be part of this first session. First, I would like to congratulate Mbak Ade and the rest of the team for making this happen. A brief introduction. I mean, the bio that you read sounds very exciting. That sometimes I ask myself, is it really me? So a bit of details on that, because I like to set the context to the presentations that I'm gonna make after this link to leadership, and also the two lens that CP and also Mo had highlighted around authenticity, and also knowledge leadership. I think that's very, very interesting. So before that, I would like to, put together a context on my leadership domain so that we understand how the environment, the dynamics, and also the COVID-19 impacts, have given me, the exposures that I believe it's one of the most exciting ones in professional careers, in a way that, make us grow. I mean, crisis helps us to understand more about ourselves, our business, as well as our people. So I joined Asia almost a year ago, and from the structure of my experience presented here, people will recognize that before a year ago, I had no clue what airlines is, right? Apart from being a customer. So a year ago, I basically didn't understand what's the difference between Boeing and Airbus. To me, they're just aircrafts. Because I spent almost all my career life as in commercials and consumer goods business, and I'm very happy to be here as part of the alumni for East West Knowledge Leadership Program supported by Fujitsu. So thank you so much for having me. So Daniel, help me with the next slide. So Asia, Indonesia, and the industry, right? Our company is a $400 million company. We operate in Indonesia 28 aircrafts with more than 1,600 employees, direct employees, and the industry is very huge because Indonesia, to our colleagues here who are not coming from Indonesia, Indonesia is a country with 270 million people, rapidly growing an economy year on year. So the business ecosystem, the opportunities that we have in the country is massive when it comes to providing a service for people to fly. And last year was a remarkable year, was a record year where we are growing very fast and perform extremely well. And I still remember until today that in December, right before Christmas, I finalized my business plan, our business plan for 2020, right? It was a 3 months job with everybody crunching numbers, preparing presentations, rehearsals, meeting with the boards, meeting with the functional leaders, and so on and so forth. And just 4 weeks after I, come back from my end of year holiday, I realized that this business plan is no longer valid. I should put it in my drawer and never look back, because COVID-19 changed the entire story that our business plan, and I think it's everybody's business plan, had never anticipated. So when COVID-19 hit the industry and the country, we have most of our planes grounded, like almost all, and just by that we produce no air service, right? And the revenue directly collapse, and I'm talking about really collapse. Many industries are talking about reductions, declines, and so on. And when we look at it, it's 10%, 20%. In our case, it was really a big hit because we ground our aircraft, so nobody flew. And beyond that, also passengers complaints a lot. We receive like 10 times the normal queries in our customer service platforms and complaints around, rescheduling, refund, is it flight safe to fly, or what do I do with my tickets, and so on and so forth. Like massive. And because of the environment as well, our employees, we call them all stars, start to realize and, get more and more intense and anxious about things because everything was uncertain. You receive different informations every different days. You receive, people tell you different things, different hours. You don't know which one is correct, which one is not, which one that you can really hold on to, which one, you should forget. And everybody was in the same situation. Nobody really understands what does it mean to manage the situation, because we had crisis in our region, linked to pandemic. We had bird flu, we had SARS, but it never came out as at this size. When during SARS, during bird flu periods, Indonesia was pretty much marginally impacted. And when during like two, 2008 crisis, Indonesia didn't feel much of the impact because our domestic economy was extremely strong. So it was easy for us to recover. But then again, this COVID-19, where it's a health issues everywhere. People are afraid to do a lot of things, even to go out of house. Businesses close or forced to close. Stores are not opening. People are not getting out of the house. It changed entirely the entire conversations and the dynamics. And the news that we read on social media, newspapers, online platforms are not helping as well, right? There are more negative stories, negative news than the positive ones. Even if there are positive news, but the overwhelming impact of the negative sentiments really, really make people feel under pressures and mentally depressed, if I can put it that way. Every day is talking about the death tolls, contagion, which city is closed, which people are put to work at home, which jobs are lost or will be lost, which business bankruptcy and so on. All the discussions about economic recession, depressions, everything is negative. Now, the question is, how can a woman leader, and by the way, I am in the history of Indonesia, I am the second female CEO of an airline company. So the industry, the people, the employees didn't really have a reference to how a woman would lead an airline company during normal situations, let alone during crisis, right? So they say, okay, what this person is going to do, what this woman is going to do to some extent. Let alone, I had no clue before, and I'm still learning in a number of areas, the airline specific technical aspects, right? Because I did not come from airline. While my leadership teams are 25 years serving pilots, engineers, all the, technical people. They're very strong in their fields. They are very experienced, functional expertise is very strong. But how can a leader that has no technical experience in the industry, in the domain, it can lead this type of people? I still remember, thinking myself, there was always moments when you feel your self-doubts. That's pretty human, right? That, can I really do this job? Because, I talk to people, pilots, senior pilots, who were already flying jet planes when my mom was thinking where to put me on elementary school, which elementary school that I would need to go to, and these pilots are already flying planes, jet planes across Atlantic. So, self-doubts is normal and in all leadership space, right? So, and then I would like to come back. There are many ways, there are many lenses that we can analyze leadership. But let me connect with what CP and Mo already set as fundamentals in a way that make this conversation coherent. Dania, please help the next slide. Let me first start with the knowledge leadership. First thing is, reality says no one has a COVID-19 playbook. People has, in management, there are different things that happen, but business is a decades-long industry. People write books, business schools, many business schools. So there's kind of a playbook to say, okay, if you're in a growing business, this is what you do. If you're in a stagnating market, this is what we need to implement. If you're in a declining space, this is what you need to do. You have charts, you have metrics, you have a number of tools, you name it. But I think today people are still writing books around how businesses can deal or have to deal with this size of pandemic, this size of adversity, right? Because nobody, I think, had ever faced this intensity of challenge. So no one has a COVID-19 playbook. You know, they have references on several of the streams, but you know, as a solid reference to say, okay, this is what you're gonna do. You know, it's inexistent. And history, of course, we can learn from history. We can learn from past data, but we need to take them in their own context. You know, we cannot copy and paste. You cannot, you know, find a golden rule that says, okay, here's what you need to do. No, because uncertainty is so high. My view, and this is what happened in my scope, the way I see it, hopefully people can take learning if possible. I'll be very happy to, or inspirations and insights. That first thing that I learned from this environment in regards to knowledge leadership is, number one, Daniel, always focus on facts. There's so many noises, so many opinions, so many judgments, feelings, comments that cluttered the space, so that it gets even more difficult to understand what does it mean to take another step forward. So getting ourselves really focused and clear our mind, be mindful in what we do and what we say and in what we decide, and always based on decisions. Even if these decisions will evolve over time, or the perspective will evolve over time, but always ground everything on facts. You know, put away the emotion parts. You know, people are always emotionals, but the focus of the discussion and the decision-making process has always been on the facts. That is my experience in dealing with the pandemic. The second one, Daniel, please. Be comfortable with the uncertainty, because the only thing that is certain in this environment is the uncertainty, right? That's for sure. And be comfortable that we as leaders have to evolve in decision making. What we knew yesterday might not be the case today, because government changed their policies, competitors responded differently, the consumers adapted, responded differently. So our convictions or our belief what strategy should be a week ago, probably not entirely true again today, because the situation changed. And I give you an example. Government places a lot of restrictions. Airline is a very highly regulated and restrictive industry. So whatever that we do is has to get approval from the government. Either you fly, either you don't fly. So all the scenarios are not only us to decide. So there are a lot of external factors. So unless we are comfortable on making sure that we focus on the facts and what we can control, and let go those that we can't, we also need to be agile. You know, we need to accept the fact that decision-making process, the knowledge will evolve. It is not going to be fixated, you know, on certain things. Number three key takeaways that I get so far, I'm still in the journey of learning, a bit untidy in the slides, but it's about collaboration, because nobody has a single idea on what needs to be done, precisely because uncertainty is so high. So we need to get the best talents in place, recognize that nobody knows everything, and find a way to collaborate and do it effectively and co-build the knowledge. Understands that everyone has a different opinion, everyone has a different objectives and goals, but in a way that is useful, is always maximize collaborations and co-build the knowledge internally within our companies, with different subsets, functions, layers of governance, and also externally. Externally means with the government, with the industry, other industries, other players, tourism in our case. You know, we have adjacent industry like tourism, like you know, online travel agents, and also all other industries that are not really directly connected with us, but we can also learn from the way they respond to these things, their decision-making process. And also including with competitors. In normal situations, business like to keep their own knowledge, right? Because it's one of their competitive advantages. But in the era where everything uncertain and volatility is high, it's also good to understand what competitors are doing and learn from them, right? Because everybody is learning in this stage, in this process. And the last one is pivot when necessary. This is easier said than done, because reality is when you pivot, you engage in additional risks. In, reality is when you engage in additional risk in a period where uncertainty is high, it has double impact when it comes to business risk. So pivoting and during normal business situation is already a hard decision for all business leaders and for all executives to make, because they engage in uncertainty. Business like things to be certain, right? And in a period of uncertainty, like during crisis and pandemic, it's even more risky. But then again, what is good about crisis is sometimes it forces you to make decisions that you would probably think long otherwise, and it forces you to really think through things, and working into the smallest possible maximum informations that we have, and you make decisions and take risks. Now this is easier said than done, because airlines has a pivoting in airlines, which is very regulated, is not an easy decision making, and also the financial risk of doing it is also high. Okay. So and then the last slide that I have is around authenticity, and this covers mostly about how I feel, because that's what I know best. First, always be honest, because as Mo said, even during normal time when business is doing well, people follow leaders when they feel that they trust, right? You don't follow guys or people that you think are fake, right? That is even normal situations. You like to engage in honest and trustworthy process and conversation with a person. So you decide who you want to follow. Yes, in business, in companies, corporates, there are hierarchies, people, managers, staff, directors, CEOs, and so on. But at the end of the day, those are very structural governance. Reality is when you want to drive and get things done, especially extraordinary things done, you need to lead from the within. You need to get people inspired and do beyond, deliver beyond the normal requirements, right? You want people to innovate. You want people to be passionate. So because this type of thing produces greater results, but they will not do that if they see that the leaders are kind of fake, right? Say the right thing, display behavior that it's not him or it's not her. In my case, it's very obvious. So I look myself in the mirror, like Mo said. Okay, I'm on my early 40s, had no airline experience. I don't business, and what makes people follow me? That's the first question that I ask myself, and I always make sure that I'm honest with myself. No, honest on what I know, what I do know, and what I don't know, what I can do, and what I cannot do. And then and I explained it to people that you are 25 years serving pilots, all the very best about how to fly this airplane. Me, never gonna be at your level, but here's what we're gonna do. So let's be honest, as opposed to I'm the CEO, you're my pilot, do what I said. Never gonna work. Okay. The second one is show vulnerability. And this is again easier said than done. When you sit as a leader, especially at top positions, you realize that everything that you do and everything that you don't do, everything that you say and everything that you don't say, people will interpret. People will try to create a meaning out of it. Either you like it or not, either you want it or not, either it's right or true. So whatever that you say has an impact to them. This morning, just a concrete example, I had a town hall with my team. Hundreds of people are watching the town hall online. And then after the town hall, one of my IT manager texted me and said, Veronita, thank you so very much for you're the first CEO that recognized that IT has a contribution to help Asia business recover from the pandemic, right? So whatever that I say, either consciously or unconsciously, people will pick it up and make a point, make an interpretations out of it. So it's not easy for leaders to display that, hey guys, I'm scared myself. Hey guys, I'm also nervous. You know that? Hey guys, I also don't know this kind of things, to be precise, right? So people, most leaders, I speak from my experience, have the tendency to say, I'm the hero. I'm gonna get this done. You guys follow me. The kind of superhero syndrome. And I find it not helpful because there isn't any superhero. I think the guys in the United States make a very good job out of creating this iconic heroes that in real life, I rarely see it, especially in business. What we have is super team. What we have is team that collaborates at the best that they can, right? So as leaders, showing that you know all the answers, people just need to do what you said because you're the boss, because you know sit at the top, is not going to help. So showing vulnerability is a step, I think, towards authenticity. Means you open yourself, you become human to them. They can relate with you. You see what I mean? They can understand your what you say and where you want to go because they can feel you. When you're super perfect, people look at you as some iconic figure that they cannot connect themselves because they're afraid and you're not. You're different. But when you show your vulnerability, your emotions, your concerns, your anxiety, they say, hang on, Vera, I understand. I'm afraid as well. So let's fix this together. You don't know about airlines? I think I do. Let's work together. Right? That's number 2. Number 3 is focus on the positives. Again, it's easier for me to write it down. Reality is far, far, far from being easy because there's so many negatives, so many uncertainties, problems get thrown at you every single moment, and being focused on the positives is really, really, really hard. But that's the role of leaders. That's across all the years because leadership is not about position. Leadership is about mindset. So it's very, very important to be successful in the period when leaders focus on the positive. Not saying that you hide away from the negatives and the challenge. No, you're aware of them. You put them in a container. You said, okay, I'm aware you're there, but I will not get you to consume me. Right? I control you as the opposite. Okay, as you control me. The number 4 would be, Daniel, please help. Unify with purpose and compassion. Again, compassion is hang on, what is going on with the, okay. Compassion is what am I continuing? Okay, so compassion is a keyword that I learn a lot these days, much more than before, because people are afraid. People are humans. They're afraid of their health, their families, their jobs, the company. I get a lot of questions around, is our company gonna be, our company is gonna survive? Are we gonna get past through this, and so on? So there's a lot of anxiety, and we need to, empathize that, and we need to show that we care because we do really care. And that kind of thing, that kind of approach will unify. And we need to remind people over and over again our purpose in this business and why we exist. And the last piece that I would like to share is communicate and communicate. And this is where it gets very challenging for leaders in the situations, because people will demand and expect you to communicate always. Challenges, people will interpret of the things that you communicate, but then again, things change again. So it's challenging, but we need to make sure that as leaders during this period, communication is key. It's always better to over communicate, right? So those are the 5 takeaways on my experience in my leadership journey, especially as CEO of Asia in this period of uncertainty driven by COVID-19 pandemic. So I hope that helps, and I'm very happy to answer questions and inputs as well, and learn from all the distinguished speakers and also the fellow alumni members of James and the programs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Farah, for the session. And we have received like a lot of questions here in our Facebook, and also some of them is send me the DM. And I would like to invite everyone here to share the screen with me. Okay, so now I'm confused. A lot of questions. Okay, we have already have Mo, Shipi, and also Mafera. I think I will start with okay, first maybe okay. Mo, first question goes to you. Okay, this question is coming from Fantri from Indonesia. You said that you don't share business card during the crisis. Meanwhile, some companies that I know, they have planned for merger this year. How do you see this plan?
I forgot to unmute. So the question was, I know they say that we shouldn't share business cards the day of a disaster, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And now the question was?
Yeah, meanwhile, some companies that I know, they have planned a merger this year. So how do you see this?
Well, the thing about in the mergers in this year and the way things are going and speculating in this aspect is anything in mergers, there has to be a level of trust. There has to be a level of understanding in the leadership. When I work with other countries, when I work with Indonesia, when I work with the AHA Center in Jakarta with a phenomenal lady, Nina Kamal, that the mutual understanding that we have, the relationship that we have built, makes things a lot easier. Makes things, I'm saying that there's, when you look at history, I'm going to say, if you look at Latin America, there was a distaste for the United States, right? And it didn't matter if it happened 100 years ago, whatever. People still have a tendency to look back in history and say, why should I trust you? When we're looking at these mergers, when we're looking at these things, trust is something that is explicit. There's got to be a win-win for each other. Okay, it's not a good merger if it's not a win-win. So there has to be trust in leadership. The followers that you are responsible of are looking up to you to make sure that they have a fair share. They are trusting you with their livelihood. They are trusting that this merger is going to be phenomenal. This merger is going to be beneficial to them. There's nothing worse than having individuals that are living in uncertainty, because if you leave somebody and they perceive something, it's going to become reality. Mavera said something really great about communicate and always communicate. When you're doing these mergers, communicate it along the lines, laterally and then up and down as well. Okay, so trust is what needs to be done, and always keep the communication, because people are looking up to you always. I hope that answered the question.
Okay, thank you very much, Mo, for the questions. And the second one is the questions from Emmy, Indonesia. It's for CP. It says that one of the qualities of a good leader during in the crisis is the need to have the social, good socio-political and socio-economical insight. So, what do you think about that? And how do you think that? I mean, like in knowledge leadership in during this pandemic, do you think that a good leader should have an extra knowledge or extra, put the extra attention on the socio-political and socio-economical situation?
I think that's an excellent question, primarily because the pandemic is something that not only impacts our economy or the economy of a specific country or businesses, but it also impacts society, right? If you just look at the United States, for instance, and in Hawaii, the millions of people, I think it's about 1.8 million people in the United States have filed for unemployment because of the pandemic. And so understanding how are we going to address the social issues. A lot of what's happening in America right now with the Black Lives Matter is really deeper than just racism, right? It's really rooted in something bigger than that. And if we want to look at poverty, that is driving that force, right? So everything is compounded because of the pandemic. So I think for a leader, it's really important to understand the interconnectedness of economics, businesses, and politics as well. I think those are key factors, and perhaps Farah could also provide some added information as to how businesses could work with government. We have a lot of public-private partnerships to provide solutions to this pandemic, and we've seen that happen here in Hawaii as well. Right, so I think it is important. You don't necessarily have to be an expert in policy, in politics, in governance, or in business, but you need to have the fundamental knowledge and know how each of these institutions work with each other. And I like what Vera mentioned, that inspiring people is also is key, and that comes with proper communication.
Okay, thank you, CP. Very informative, and I think it's answering the questions. And it's basically, I think this three subject that we have today is very related, and the connection between one topic is to another is very close. And the next one is that, but Farah, I have like tons of questions for you in Facebook. Maybe because like a lot of our audience is also traveling, and me myself, I always travel like almost with AirAsia always. And this is, but I will pick two questions and I will merge into one. The first question is from Joy from Bangkok. I think I know her. Hi, Joy, if you're watching. Um, she said that what advantage about the female leadership over male leadership? Wow, I think that's a very intriguing question, and I love the questions, by the way. And the second one, it's from Cam from India. He's my brother from India, in class, same class with me. How Indonesian government is helping the airline industry? Any compensation or any guideline to operate them in coming future?
All right. Those are two very interesting questions, and I think each of those questions can be explained in one independent full session, right? Because it's a big question. First of all, is a female leadership. I personally believe there isn't fundamentally female or male leadership. There is only leadership. However, I also recognize that there are some traits that inherently, in female environment, that put a little bit flavors in the way the leadership is delivered. So it's a matter of delivery of the leadership. But the leadership is, to me at least, the way I see it, is the same. And during this crisis, an advantage of being a female leader is first vulnerability. Women are emotional, or at least more emotional, more feeling, more open to emotional conversations. So being vulnerable for women, probably I have never been a man, so I don't know. So, but to me, it's the kind of something that comes me as a mother, family and so on. So I feel very, very natural. It feels very, very natural, right? And also in terms of empathy, uh, I think, again, I've never been a male, so I can't comment. Probably Mo and CP can help me on how men delivers the same propositions in the man way. But the way, male, female, I think female have more ability and more openness to show empathy, to show vulnerability that helps in particular this situation. That's the way I see it. But fundamentally, I think leadership is a leadership. There's no gender differentiation in leadership, I personally feel. The one is when it comes to government. We are working very closely with the government in terms of shaping the policies, shaping all the health protocols in the airport, up in the air, in flight. So we are very close partners, and I could also understand the challenge from the government side when it comes to putting together the right actions, the right time, and also communicated the right way with diverse populations. And we're very close in terms of supports. Financial supports is still in progress. However, it supports in terms of flexibility and adaptability to connect the two spectrum of the public and also the private and also business, I think is very, very good.
Now it's my turn I forgot to unmute. Okay, well, there's a very wonderful session that we have today. If I may sum up that the for the from this three session that we have today, maybe if I can sum up that self-awareness, it's I think basically everything is coming from us. I mean, like it relies on the leader. I mean, like the self-awareness, Mo said that the self-awareness is the foundation of the authentic leadership, and the leadership is a journey, and we should believe in yourself and lead with the heart. And during what we need during this crisis is that we have to think and act based on the evidence and also the informations, evidence, experience, good faith, agile decision, knowledge sharing culture, and also knowledge sharing culture. Well, and if I can see that during the leadership in AirAsia, like Mbak Vera mentioned, is that almost everything. I mean, like almost those 5 steps. She did those 5 steps, and I think it's important for us to I think it's to be honest for us. So that's why I really appreciate by you share a very honest perspective. I mean, like if myself, I think that oh my God, I think I'm not the it's natural for me to scared, to be a leader, because sometimes I feel that, oh my God, can I be a good leader? But I guess the learning process is a never-ending learning. You mentioned that you are the CEO, but you said that you are still learning. It means everybody is learning every day, right? And I agree that COVID-19 has no playbook. We don't know. We never experienced this before, right? And but I guess I think that's what the world needs to be. And the wise leader. The summary of everything is relies on the leaders and how do we react in every situation. And you leader is, yeah, you know, if you're not, you don't have followers, then you are not the leaders. But how do we create how do we have followers, people to follow you, like from the heart? So that's why I think this session is a very good session. But I have one last question for Mbak Vera. Mbak Vera, you are former 2010. You joined the Fujitsu scholarship program called East West Knowledge Leaders Program. I want to know how did the program uh, contribute and affect you as the leader nowadays? I mean, like now, how does it impact you?
Well, the impact to me is fundamental. The way I see it, I feel very privileged. I feel very grateful for the supports that Fujitsu and also James, the entire ecosystem, has given to Indonesia talents in order to take a big step in their journey towards leadership. And it was 10 years ago. I was a manager at, I think, Danone, and I always had this curiosity about, how business is actually run. And that little did I know, what leadership actually means. I heard about it a lot, and I was a young manager with a small team, but I didn't really understand the full dynamics. And I think the program helped me to shape my perspective in a way that gets me more confident, more confidence, and also more articulate, because the program helps me to understand also self-awareness, because in the program there are students from many countries, right, in Asia, and also from that time I had classmates from India, and also from France, and also from the US. So that was the first time, one of the first time that I really engaged from people from polarized cultures. So it really helps me a lot. It really, keep me back and, ask a lot of questions and challenge my convictions before I entered the program. So it is really fundamental in shaping my journey in business and as well as leadership. Thank you so much for the program.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think thank you for the ladies and gentlemen, Mo, CP, and Bafera. Very honored to have you here, and thank you for the session. And we will move to the next session. I hope I can see you in the next session. And now we are moving to the next session. So on Mbak Vera already share that she previously joined the East West Leadership Knowledge Program from Fujitsu back in 2010. But now the program is transformed, and now the program called Global Leaders for Innovation and Knowledge. Myself, I graduate from 2017 fall class. And now I would like to invite my colleague, the Indonesian family, the Indonesian alumni family. His name is Daniel Sanjaya. He just graduated from Click 2018 spring class. Daniel, can you join me?
Sure, definitely. I'm here.
Hi, Daniel. How are you, Neil?
Great. I feel great. Thank you so much.
Okay, Neil, can you share to everyone, how did the program influence you? And I know, I don't know what to say. I mean, like everybody maybe feel like a different feeling after the program. I just want to know how is it, how do you feel after the program?
Well, thank you so much for the questions, Ade-san. First of all, I would say aloha to our distinguished guests, CP and Mo from Hawaii. And let me greet our distinguished guests from Japan as well with Minasan, konnichiwa. Dozo yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Kyou wa oisogashi tokoro hontou ni arigatou gozaimasu. Yes, hello everyone. So, well, I strongly believe that GLIC program is an extraordinary program. And it is like quite similar with the executive MBA where each of the participant has like very interesting background, like from the corporate, government, and educations. And what makes like very unique of this program, it fosters like the global leaders to provide the common good for society. And the most important thing that this program definitely has transformed my mindset. In the past, I realized that I try like to achieve the good, very good career in my life, like to earn lots of money. But however, I didn't feel happy at all once I occupied like this positions. So after having graduated like from the GLIC program, I realized that my mindset has been totally changed. For me now, it is better to pursue career that gives like the common good for our society. And that's why like last year in 2019, I made like a very courageous decisions to leave the high paying corporate job and pursue my passions in academia. Now, like I have been working as a lecturer at the Prasetya Mulia University, one of the best business school here in Jakarta. Now, I can see that I can achieve the ikigai in my life, and I can reach the full happiness stage from the inside of my heart. So yes, I believe this is like the most important thing about my transformations after having graduated from the GLIC program.
Wow. Oh my God. I think it's a very, so your experience, like, it's transforming yourself, right, Daniel? I mean, like,
Yeah.
really changed the way of thinking and then the mindset. Me myself is also experienced the same thing. I I was kind of after the program. I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of feel that after the program,
Mm-hmm.
I know Fujitsu, they didn't want me to do, I mean, like to pay back or something in return. Uh,
Yeah.
they didn't, but it's coming from my heart. I mean, like,
Mm.
after the program, I feel like I have to contribute something for my country. I mean, I have to I have to, you know, nurture, like Professor Nonaka said, that I have to
Yeah.
nurture the next leader. I mean, like, continue to inspire and influence others to be the wise
Yes.
leader. So I think very great, Daniel. Thank you for representing our country as it best. I'm really proud of you. We really proud of you. And
Thank
now
you.
for everybody, I know to know you guys must be very excited to hear about what is the Global Leader for Innovation and Knowledge Scholarship Program from Fujitsu. And today we are very honored that you will hear explanation. It's directly from Tokyo, from the center of the GLIC program. And he will join us today and give direct explanations about a little bit overview about the program. So for you, the scholarship enthusiasts, I know you guys already DM me a lot of questions, and get ready and prepare your notes and listen the information carefully, because this is a very rare event to have him explaining the program directly in our session today. So let us welcome the director of Fujitsu James Foundation, Mr. Hidehiko Kawashima. Konnichiwa, Hide-san.
Hello.
Hello. Thank
Hi.
you.
Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. So today I'd like to make a brief introduction of our program and the vision of the Fujitsu James Foundation. Yeah, so I'm a bit afraid that the previous lecturers and Daniel covers some of part of my contents, so that I'd like to try to bring the message on behalf of the Fujitsu James Foundation to the young generation audience today. Okay, so could you show the presentation slide, please? Thank you, Daniel. Once again, so I'm Hide Kawashima from Fujitsu James Foundation. I joined Fujitsu James in October in 2018. Okay, I'm honored to be with you today at this specific moment of the having the very first leaders talk session starting from in Indonesia. So we'd like to celebrate together the official formation of Fujitsu James Committee in Indonesia alumni today. And I would like to share with you our overview of our program, current program, and our defined of the leadership and will be needed in the post-corona new normal. Okay. Please let me start about who we are, Fujitsu James Foundation, and our vision. What we are aiming to achieve through providing the educational programs as well as the James community activities. James, by the way, so James stands for Japan America Institute of Management Science. James was established in 1972 based on the vision of Mr. Kora, then president of Fujitsu at that moment. That is to bring in business persons from all over the world to Hawaii to study together and learn together and learn the culture and understand each other. That would be essential, the basic for the business that the Mr. Kora thought at that era. Okay, Hawaii was chosen as a location for the James as it was then the major connecting point between the East and West. Even today, Hawaii continues to be a unique place with their multi-ethnic and multicultural populations. Since then, we worked to accelerate the globalization, the mutual understanding, and the trust through the education. And then, in light of the expansion, the business and some trend in Asian countries in recent years, the James has decided to transfer its headquarter functions from Hawaii to Japan in 2012. And we are transformed to Fujitsu James Foundation then. At the same time, we launched a program called Global Leaders for Innovation and Knowledge. Although we have made some changes and we will continue to change in response to the world trends and the needs from the society and the social situation, but our vision doesn't change, stay remains. Our vision is to develop the innovation leaders like you who can create a new value to solve the social issues and generate positive impact to the society. Daniel, next slide, please. Okay, now let's think about what kind of leaders is called for today and the future. Fujitsu James defines a successful innovation leader as the one who has the two abilities to create the value, the entire society, and make the activity sustainable. This is based on the common good philosophy advocated by Professor Dr. Nonaka, who is the business strategy and knowledge creation guru, and considered to be one of the greatest business thinker of all time. In the era of crisis and instability, leaders need to demonstrate their abilities to produce social and business impact in the positive manner. And now, due to experiencing COVID-19, many people started rethink about the way they work and live to cope with the pandemic. Because it is such a time, let's not only think, but do what will be needed for the society. The alumni members who studied with James have, I believe, they have a forward-looking mindset as well as the flexibility to adapt rapid changes. That is something that we are proud of, and we are confident that they will be an influent leader in the next generation society. Fujitsu James aims to continue to contribute to the betterment of the society by developing and nurturing such leaders, and we believe in the power of the co-creation. Each individual leader's knowledge and his or her strong belief to creating a better future must be synthesized with those of others, and that can make all the difference. As some lecturers mentioned already, if you stay on your own idea, by innovation a bit difficult to be happen. Daniel, next slide, please. Thank you. Okay. The program is designed to nurture innovation leaders and equip the leaders with two essential abilities. By reflecting Nonaka's philosophy, I think we skipped one slide. Would you go back to the previous one? Next, please. We want to see the page, slide number 3. Can you check the slide number 3, please? This is page 2, right? This is page 4.
Okay, while we were waiting for the Daniel to present the next slide, I think I would like to ask Hide-san,
Yes.
because I received several questions
Okay.
during the some of them is send me a DM.
Sure.
What? So, is there any age limitation for this program? And then,
Okay.
yeah, they are curious to. I mean, like, some of them is already DM me and then say that when is the next opening? Because considering now is the we have this COVID-19 condition. I mean, like, what's the plan? Is it going to be open again for next year, or how's the plan?
Okay. Thank you for the 2 questions. The first question, the age limit. So there is no age limit. So
Okay.
that we welcome to the applications from all of you. Then later I will touch some, like, the 3 major point we would like the applicants have. Okay. Then next question, very bit difficult to answer right now because actually the last month we completed the selection procedure for 2024 course. We selected 10 scholars from the Asia Pacific and 8 from the Japan. But unfortunately, the end of May, we decided to postpone the start date of their program so that the next program will be held in February 2021. But all candidates, all participants are set already. So that we are thinking and carefully watching the situations in how we can resume to the next promotion of our program and scholarship.
Okay, I think your presentation is already recovered. I'm sorry for the technical.
Not at all.
Okay, Daniel, can you start sharing?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, okay. So the program is designed to nurture innovation leaders and equip the leaders with the 2 essential abilities. By reflecting Dr. Nonaka Sensei's philosophy, the Global Leaders Innovation and Knowledge program is designed to develop our leadership, your leadership. The 3.5 months course period is your unique journey. We are starting from Japan, Hawaii, and Singapore, Thailand, and going back to Japan. So that you have to, the participants are expected to commit the full 3.5 months into our program. The first, each participant will be required to create his or her own, the innovation plan. We called before the capstone project. The participant begin the project by considering which social issues they would like to address with the ultimate goal of creating the better world. And our participants focus on the solving issues that their community faces. So the common good will be the very basic basis of for the determining the what kind of value offered by a solution, and will be basis of every solution as participants strive to become innovative leaders who endeavor to create value that benefit entire community, not only some organization, not only to the one country. We encourage our participants to consider what is the common good. Second, over the course of the 3.5 months, the program participant will travel as a team from to 4 countries where they will learn firsthand about the local value systems and the way of thinking through experience and the dialogue with the local innovators and the residents. By stepping beyond the borders of their own countries and gaining on-the-ground experience with the social issues and the economic activities on the global scale, participants will develop broader perspective and more sophisticated the way of thinking about and experiencing the world. The third, the program is really interactive and diverse. Participants will have the opportunity to have in-depth discussion with people, including their instructors, classmates, fellow participants, as well as local residents. Those people who will come from a wide range of backgrounds from the business world and the government sectors and NPOs and so on. Fueled by lots of questions and their assertion that all originate from diverse range of the perspective. These inspiring discussion lead to the generation of the ideas and plans that could never be created by individual in isolation. So far, the program has been participated by fellow mates from 18 countries plus Japan. Daniel, next slide, please. Okay, here is the desired scholarship mindset. As I understand that some of the young generation audience today might be interested in the applying for the scholarship in the near future. So let me share with you the basic idea about being a suitable candidate in our program. Here are the three major points that we are eager to hear from the every applicants. The first, he or she has their own social issues and they have the strong will to solve it. Second, already taking some actions, even if in success, but we would like to evaluate the all applicants. They have already made some effort or not. The third one is the knowledge and the experience would be equipped through our program can help him or her overcome the difficult situations. Some applicants, some applicants already started their capstone project in their community, but some cases they are stuck by some reasons. So that we would like to understand their personality as well as what kind of situation they are in stuck through the interview, so that we will judge after the experience and the knowledge from our program would help him or her to overcome that situation. Those 3 points we would like applicants have their own mindset. So if you think you are confident answering 3 questions, so it is time for you to apply our program. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, this slide shows kind of like, for the alumni, the graduate, James graduate. As a part of our continuous program enhancement, we are planning to add some gimmick for a co-creation concept into our program. One of them is inviting alumni to the program as a mentor for a participant. Because the James graduate who understand well where the difficulty resides during the journey can be a good advisor and a discussion partner of the all participants to crystallize their innovation plan by utilizing knowledge and his or her own, the experience after the graduation with the James program, so that we would like seek the help and volunteer to the all alumni in Indonesia for our next program. Okay, Daniel, next slide, please. Okay, lastly, I would like to conclude my speech by encouraging the young generation audience to continue to learn with us and with your fellows in Indonesia. And please let us express the sincere congratulations, the officially kicking off the formation of the Fujitsu James community in Indonesia alumni, thanks to Adet and Daniel's effort. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to share our program and vision with the young generation leaders in Indonesia. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Hide-san, for the explanation. And on behalf of Indonesia alumni, we would like to say thank you for supporting our events and upcoming activities. We are look forward that this initiation will be continue and also can continuously engage our fellow alumni from another country to participate or maybe even conduct their own chapter. So I guess this is the end of our first multi-countries leaders talk. Stay tuned to our group, and we will have a polling for the next leaders talk team. And if you have an interesting subject to share, feel free to DM us. And I have this quote that I read from Professor Nonaka's notebook, Ikujiro Nonaka, in collaboration with Culture Flow International. He said that the wise leaders place a high priority on communication with as many people as possible because the communication is the key to bring dreams to life. The innovation can never happen alone. So let's join us and let's make positive changes to the world and join us then in the next session of Leaders Talk. See you on the next Leaders Talk, leaders. Terima kasih, mahalo, and arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you,
Okay,
Bade.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day,
Everyone.
everyone.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
day. Okay,
Daniel.
bye-bye.
Great seeing